They threatened to put a lien on my house over a wooden fence. Just imagine waking up one morning to find a letter saying you could lose your home because you built something to protect your own kid. That's when I realized my nightmare wasn't the fence itself, it was the woman running our neighborhood. HOA Linda Carter. I'm Michael Thompson, a software engineer who thought moving to Maple Creek outside Dallas would be the perfect start for my family. Quiet streets, manicured lawns, kids riding their bikes, it looked like the American dream. What nobody tells you in the brochures is that the real ruler of Maple Creek isn't the mayor or the police, it's the HOA, and Linda Carter held the throne. Linda, with her stiff blazer clipboard glued to her hand, and that permanent smirk like she was just waiting to catch you slip up. The trouble started the week I finished putting up a new fence in my backyard. I made it taller than the HOA standard 10 inches higher because my son kept climbing everything in sight and I needed him safe. A week later, I found the first letter in my mailbox violation notice fine of $500 signed neatly by Linda Carter. I called her, explained politely, thinking it was a misunderstanding. Her voice was cold, sharp. "Rules are rules, Mr. Thompson. If you don't fix this, we'll escalate. Your fence comes down or we'll take you to court." Click. That was the end of the call. At first I laughed it off. Surely neighbors could work things out. But then came the next notice, a fine for parking my car a few inches past the curb, another for leaving the trash bins out an extra 15 minutes. It was like she had binoculars aimed at my house 24/7. Soon it wasn't funny. It was harassment. I went to the next HOA meeting hoping to clear the air. The room was stiff, filled with neighbors sitting silently while Linda presided at the head of the table. When I tried to speak, she cut me off. "Mr. Thompson, Maple Creek has standards. If you can't follow them, perhaps this isn't the right community for you." Murmurs spread, but nobody spoke up for me. My stomach sank. That was the moment I realized I was on my own. Over the next 2 months, the fines piled up, nearly $2,000. Then came a letter from their attorney threatening to place a lien on my house if I didn't pay. A lien meant they could eventually take the home away from us. I remember sitting on my porch one night, staring at that letter under the porch light, hands shaking. My wife tried to calm me down, but I couldn't hear her. My thoughts kept spiraling. Maybe Linda was right. Maybe I didn't belong here. Maybe the fight wasn't worth it. Part of me whispered, just sell the house, move away, leave it all behind. For days I felt broken. Every corner of Maple Creek reminded me that I was trapped under Linda's rules. But then, knock on the door. Sarah Miller. My neighbor from down the street, a school teacher with kind eyes, stood there holding a folder. She leaned in and whispered, "You're not the only one." Inside the folder were copies of emails that had been leaked from the HOA board. Emails where Linda instructed her team to keep an eye on new families, enforce fines aggressively, make them know who's in charge. It wasn't just me, this was her strategy, her power trip. That night, something inside me shifted. The hopelessness turned into anger, and that anger turned into resolve. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't weak. I had proof. I started gathering everything. Photos of houses with the same violations Linda ignored. Statements from neighbors who were too scared to speak up until now. I even hired a lawyer who specialized in HOA disputes. And I filed a complaint with the Texas HOA Ombudsman's office. For weeks I documented everything. Every letter, every notice, every insult she threw my way. Finally, the day came, a special HOA meeting where the board had to address the mounting complaints. The room was packed, neighbors shoulder to shoulder. Linda sat in her usual spot, papers stacked high, confidence dripping off her like perfume. She looked at me and smirked. "Mr. Thompson, I hear you have something to say. We're all listening." My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear myself, but I stood. I laid the letters on the table one by one, showed the pictures of houses with the same so-called violations that were never fined. And then I read her own words from those leaked emails, target new families make. An example, increase fines. Gasps echoed across the room. I could see neighbors, shifting, whispering eyes narrowing at Linda. She tried to recover. "This is taken out of context. These are private communications, but her voice was shaking. My lawyer spoke up clear and strong. The HOA has exceeded its authority selectively enforcing rules, and in doing so has violated state law. The room erupted. Sarah stood and added her story, then another neighbor, and another. It was like a dam breaking, years of fear spilling into the open. Linda slammed her gavel, shouting over the noise, "Order, why demand order?" But no one was listening anymore. The board members looked at each other, pale, uncomfortable. One finally spoke, "I move for a vote of no confidence in President Carter." Hands shot up around the table, one after another until it was unanimous. The gavel that Linda once wielded like a weapon was taken from her hand. She sat there speechless, red-faced, as the board stripped her of her title. In that moment, she wasn't the queen of Maple Creek. She was just another neighbor finally held accountable. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just stood there steady breathing for the first time in months. The nightmare was over. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this: bullies only win when we stay silent.